Tribble of Agoric, CEO of Agoric, and here to talk to you about chain abstraction and orchestration. They're in the back. If you're going to have a conversation, take it to the other room. Okay, so what is Agoric? Agoric is a, there we go, now I've got the mic up here. All right, what is Agoric? Agoric is a layer 1 chain powered by the build token, where since 2018 we've been building up this ability to orchestrate the activity across multiple other chains. And that solves a lot of problems, but in particular it solves for chain abstraction. And I'm going to talk a lot today about how that solves for chain abstraction, how that makes for much simpler user experiences and so forth. Okay, so we're living in this world, especially with the success of interoperability, with the success of modular, we are living in this world of a myriad of connected chains, right? A myriad of chains coming out every day and they're connected. But you have to manually carry your assets from one chain to the next, right? You have these bridges, you have these wires, but if you want to move your USDC from one ecosystem to another, you've got to do your thing, get USDC, and then make a call to transfer it over to Cosmos, and then manually pick it up and go off and do what you want to do with it. And that's really powerful. That's a much better place than we were 2 years ago or 3 years ago, but it's still nowhere close to what we expect, right? To what users require. Chain abstraction, forget all the technical details. Chain abstraction is about what do the users want, right? Users want to be able to use digital assets and services, these Web3 assets and services, independent of the underlying infrastructure. That's what they want, right? They don't want these discrete, separate experiences. They don't want to manually think about each of these chains. They want to be able to use these things easily across these different systems. Imagine, right, a lot of you traveled in. Some of you would have used a travel site. What happens with the travel site from the user perspective is I go there, I search for, I want to travel to Brussels, and I get a myriad of options. Now, some people will care about the differences. They'll care about Delta versus United. A different person might care about first class versus coach. Another might not want to go through Paris because, oh my God, the Olympics, right? They have different considerations, and it's not that we hid from them the difference in what the airline is, but once they decide that's the flight I want, they push the same button and they get a ticket on the airline they chose, right? And so they've abstracted out all the details they care about in order to get a simple user experience that says, I need to get to Brussels, make it happen, right? Deliver me a ticket, let me get to where I need to go. That's the kind of experience that people are used to in Web3, and that is achieved not by having one monolithic thing that delivers a single experience, but by having very convenient orchestration across the businesses provided by multiple companies to deliver a simple experience to the end user. And that's what we got to be able to do in Web3, right? And so what are some of those simple user experiences, right? I want to retain my staking yield while leveraging that capital to go do something else, right? That's what I want. I don't care about the technical details, restaking, liquid staking, whatever it is. Just, let me do that. The way to do that, right, I liquid stake my Celestia token, for example. I then mint some stable coin, some IST stable token that's implemented on the Agoric platform. I then take that over to Osmosis and buy something. I want to be able to do that all in one single action, right? Just like I could buy my ticket that included, transport and multiple legs and, meals and all that sort of stuff. I need to be able to do that in one user action. Or I want to use my assets on one chain, on chains independent of where they're at, right? So for example, if I've got USDC burning a hole in my pocket and I want, well, let's take this example, stake TIA, I want to push button and do that. The fact that that involves 4 chains and 5 signatures right now is ridiculous, right? That's an absurd state of affairs that we all need to fix. What the user wants to do is push button and get their token, right? Or I want to get the best yield on my stables across multiple chains, across multiple lending instruments, where the lending instruments might not be on the same chain, let alone, not even that, they might not be in the same ecosystem. And yet, I heard about this thing over on Polygon, I heard about this thing over on Solana, let me push button and get that. Or better still, you know what? Automate that process, right? I want to have on-chain smart contracts that automatically rebalance collateral across these lending protocols independent of what infrastructure they're on, independent of what chain they're on. Because, I get that in the Web 2 world all the time with, Fidelities or the Schwabs, et cetera, being able to have systems that act on the user's behalf in order to deliver simple user experiences is what chain abstraction is all about. And the thing that's exciting about chain abstraction, the thing why it's one of the most important things happening in the industry right now, is because it starts with users want something, right? We need users not in crypto to want something, and they do. And the second part of it is the industry is realizing that they need to deliver real value to users that are outside of the ecosystem, and we can do that by providing these simple experiences end-to-end that leverage all these services, all these assets that we've got on multiple chains. Okay, and the reason why you need something more than the infrastructure people have today is because real cross-chain composability is hard. It requires better tools than what we currently have. And that's what I'm going to talk about, right? Existing systems, right? Existing infrastructures, Solidity, Tezos, Cosmos, all these things, they're designed for writing code, for blockchain code that is transactional, where every operation starts and ends within the same block. But everything that's cross-chain, everything that's multi-chain, the user's activity does not start and end within a second or two. The user's activity starts when they're searching and it ends when they've landed in Brussels, right? It starts when they said, I want to buy something, this thing that my friend told me about. Let me push button, grab assets from there, and go get that thing. And that crosses multiple chains and multiple boundaries, and it takes more than one block to happen in order to do any multi-chain thing. And so we need new tools, and that's what we bring. Okay, so Agoric, let me introduce orchestration. And this is a place where the platform we've been building for years lines up perfectly with the requirements that developers have now to build these easy-to-use, seamless solutions for end users. Okay, so we had Dan up here with the guitar earlier, right? So let me go back just a tiny bit. So, this stuff is in the process of rolling out. It's in test nets now. Calypso, you saw Joe up here earlier, and they'll be around here and at later conferences here. They are an application for easily doing cross-chain portfolio management, for example. And they're rolling out the first piece of it that we'll call the staking widget, where what I want to be able to do is take, on a application website, right, on the Agoric page, on the Sommelier page, wherever it is, right, I want to push a button that says, yes, I want to stake Agoric build token. I want to be getting that yield. You guys are just starting to ramp up. Let's go. Let's get into the front door. Take my assets, from wherever they are, get them over there and make it happen, right? Well, in this case, we'll use Celestia because that happened recently. So I've got my ETH on Ethereum, and what I want stake Celestia token. Very simple use case. I want to push button and make that happen. I don't want to sign 6 things. I just want to push button. So I want to do that. What are the steps to do that in this new world with orchestration, right? The architecture is the user signs one authorization to make that happen, right? There is a smart contract on the Agoric platform, which I'll show you some of the tidbits of how that works. And what it's doing is it's orchestrating the activity of get money, USDC, transfer it over via CCTP to the Noble chain in Cosmos, which is where native USDC comes from. And then take that, send it over to Osmosis, swap it for Celestia token, then deliver it over to Celestia and stake it. Right? That's what I want to have happen, and I want to have that happen by pushing one button. And you deal with all of that. Right now, it takes a couple hours and 4 signatures instead. So what does that look like, right? I always like having code because it gets you concrete, but this is really straightforward code. So let's take a look at that, right? What we have is, let me get an object that says, what are all the things that I could do from this smart contract running on Agoric on the Celestia chain. So we run native JavaScript smart contracts with the full-on model of how people program Web 2 and how they orchestrate activity in Web 2. We bring that to Web 3. So let me get an object that says, what can I do on Celestia? And the first miracle comes from IBC. It's reach out to Celestia and make a brand new account that I can control from this smart contract on Agoric. So that comes from IBC. The second one is that await statement, right? I can now sit there in this smart contract that is running on Agoric, and I can wait for 1 block, 2 blocks, a week, 21 days if I'm waiting for unstaking, 2 months if I'm waiting for a vote, right? Whatever it is, I can sit there, wait, and this will proceed to the next line of code once the answer comes back from Celestia that I have created an account. The second miracle, or rather the third miracle, right, is that ICA cell, right? That's my Celestia account object. This is a JavaScript object in this smart contract that is the only thing on the planet that can control that brand new account on Celestia that was created on behalf of the user, right? So these are key unique things about the platform. So let's say that's now finished, I got that new account back. Let's come back to we go to the next line of code, and that's setting up for that trade that I mentioned. Okay, there's some options for there's some options for the osmosis swap that may come from the skip API, it might come for your application design, whatever it is. And we're using the functionality that's available to us to do a swap and forward. So this is saying, hey Osmosis, I want you to swap for the Celestia token, and when you're done, forward the answer to that brand new account I just created on Celestia. Okay, that's what I'm going to want to have do. Let me send those instructions to my account that this contract controls on Noble that has my USDC in it. Right, so I presume that happened before that. I've got this account on with USDC, and I'm saying, send it over to Osmosis, swap it for Celestia, send the result of that back over to the Celestia chain, right? And then I wait for that. And that wait, simple line of code, that line of code, it either all completes or doesn't, and that await is waiting for 4 chains to do their business to deliver to me Celestia tokens on Celestia in my account. So when that finishes, I've now got Celestia tokens on my account, and I'll go on to the next line. Again, could be seconds later, could be minutes later, we go on to the next line, we reach out to Celestia and say, so how many TIA tokens did I actually get for that swap? How many got delivered? Great, let's go ahead and stake them. Right? And now we're done. We have done in lines of code that fit on a slide stuff that in other systems would be hundreds of lines of code and very difficult to understand. Here it almost directly expresses the user story, the scenario that I described that the user wanted to be able to do. And this is just an example. We've shown several others. We've got applications that are in flight in the process of getting out to mainnet now. So we'll talk some more about that. But this went from ETH to Noble to Osmosis to Celestia, all in whatever it is, 8, 9 lines of code. Okay, so what are the impossible things, right? It's really important to remember that, because these are things that are unique about the Agoric platform. So if you need this, and if you're doing cross-chain app, let me tell you, you need this. That you need to be able to build this stuff on Agoric, and you can do this in a way that extends existing applications, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Which is fundamentally being able to do multi-block actions, right? All of these user stories, all of these workflows that are multi-chain are going to be multi-block. Being able to have a smart contract where the action spans, seconds, minutes, days, months, and it's all straightforward and easy to understand workflow, that's the critical magic in the underlying execution platform on Agoric. So that smart contract is running on Agoric and able to sit there and wait for a day until the answer comes back from that other chain. And it incorporates this easy-to-use, familiar async model that is used across the world to control trillions of dollars on a daily basis, right? It has timers, right? This very simple thing that is astonishing that people are used to programming in the rest of the world, being able to, like in the stable token that I mentioned, it charges interest every day by saying timer, periodic, every 24 hours, run this JavaScript function, right? And the JavaScript function charges interest. No off-chain magic required, no weird servers you have to rely on. It's just a straightforward smart contract that has to do with time, because what we want to do from a user story point of view has to do with time. I'm reserving a ticket, it gives me an hour. If an hour's up, the reservation evaporates. I want to be able to implement that in a smart contract and have that just work and have it just be straightforward. And then finally, it's got extensibility, right? I showed you there the get chain, Celestia, and then make account. And that underneath the covers uses IBC. And so when I say make account, it turns out it uses the native support in IBC to do what are called interchain accounts, gets me a thing I can remote control. But if what I said was get chain Ethereum, which you can't do on the version that's on testnet now, but you will be able to do later in Q3. If I said get chain Ethereum, then underneath the covers, it's going to reach out and go, okay, I need to use a service for that. I will get chain Axelar, or get chain Union Bridge, or get chain Hyperlane, and then use it to send my request to Ethereum. From the programmer's point of view, get balance just works. In the IBC case, it reaches out over IBC, it gets the balance. In the get chain Ethereum case, it reaches out over IBC to Axelar, Hyperlane, or Union Bridge, uses that to go reach out to Ethereum, gets the balance, brings it back, and so forth. And the nice thing is it just fits uniformly into this simple model in a way that we can extend it, or you can extend it as you have additional features, where it fits smoothly into this ability to do these multi-chain, multi-block actions. So these are things that are unique to the Agoric platform that really accelerate the creation of these multi-chain use cases. And so you can clearly build these cross-chain workflows, which this is where the seamlessness comes in, right? From a programming point of view, you can easily reach, Celestia, Osmosis, Cosmos Hub, Neutron, I mean, whatever chain there is, or with these extensions, just as easily reach Filecoin and ETH and Solana and so forth as we roll out, or you roll out those additional connections. And that provides the developer the ease of access to all those things. But the user experience point of view is that you can do these single-click actions to approve something, and the contract underneath then orchestrates the activity on all these chains in order to accomplish the goal that the user had, the simple experience the user wanted. One of the things that results in a couple of important things there, right? You really do get improved economics. Partly, you can now get, and we'll talk about this at various other things, you now get access to all of your liquidity on multiple chains, right? The world is asynchronously connected to you. It doesn't matter whether it's locked up here. From our chain, getting to trading on Osmosis or getting to trading on Astroport is just as easy as trading locally. From your perspective, I got this, I want that, make it happen. Wait for the answer, here you go, here's your trade, right? And so being able to integrate these other services increases your token utility, increases the access to additional services to be able to integrate them in and deliver more application value. And those kinds of things lead to really bottom line results and bottom line value for applications where you can get the kind of user retention people strive for in Web 2, right? Let's say you're a liquid staking platform, a Stride or a P-Stake or any of those. People bring Atom to Stride in order to get ST Atom. And on the Stride website, you've got your ST Atom, you've got your liquid stake token, and then they go, well, what are you going to do with it? Well, you brought it there in order to be able to use it economically elsewhere. And so what you end up having is, here's a set of links to go off to Osmosis and put it there, or go off to Ume and lend it out, or go off and transport it over to Curve and do something, right? What they have to do is they have to send the user to another application. Web 2, we learned long ago, don't do that. You want to keep the user. By using orchestration, an application can include in the application those third-party services. They can integrate in the DEXs, they can integrate in the lending platforms in order to provide those services in the context of their current customer communication in order to retain that user, right? That gives you the kind of user retention that people have been unable to get in Web 3 so far, and it's going to be critical for the future of these use cases. So that really adds value to applications that are being built, simplifies the user experience because, again, they can get all of these things in one place, and it makes this addition of services on other chains, whether they are app chains, side chains, modular extensions, native applications on other systems, et cetera, all of those can fit smoothly inside the context of these nice consolidated apps. And so that's very powerful for developers. So we've got this orchestration API that I talked about, or the core of orchestration, is in the release process now. It's expected to deploy to mainnet next week. It's on testnets now. Calypso, that staking widget that lets you stake any assets from anywhere for a given chain, that's also on testnet. You can try it out. They'll be demoing it. You can probably corner those guys in the back room for a demo, maybe. And that too will be going out once all of this orchestration stuff hits mainnet next week. And then all of these APIs will start releasing on a cadence, leading from easy programmability across all of the IBC connected chains, including the ones reachable over, composable networks, off into other non-Cosmos systems, and then growing over the course of the next several months to Ethereum and Solana and so forth. So we're very excited about this. We think chain abstraction is the thing that the cryptoverse needs in order to get out to the next wave of mainstream, and orchestration is the thing that developers need in order to be able to build this stuff for real. So thank you so much for your time. Have one question? So one brave soul raised a hand. Go for it.
One question is, how is orchestration fundamentally different from intents? And also, who is creating the workflow?
So the question was, how is orchestration fundamentally different from intents? And he cheated. There's two questions. Who is creating the workflows? Okay, I'll answer those in opposite order. The workflow, I mean, we will create some of them, but the workflows are application developers creating them. So the cross-chain staking workflow that gets you from ETH to stake TIA, you know, the Calypso team built that on the orchestration core. And they've got wiring in to do Axelar, and we'll add more libraries to make all of that, all of the stuff that they've done with the core even easier for developers going forward. But the idea is to enable you to build your use cases for an application developer you'll provide to end users. With respect to intents, intents are kind of a front-end user experience thing, or they're a back-end trading thing. A lot of the crypto environment is very focused on simple one-transaction swaps, and intents are mostly a representation of that. There's ways in which it's not, but mostly it's say, I want to do a swap. That's great. There's billions of dollars with swaps, but there's a lot more money in the world and a lot more value in the world with long-term contracts that do not match well with intents. Now, we have our model of offers in the application. You should check it out because it's all integrated all the way out to the UI in Kepler, and I think we'll be rolling out in MetaMask Snaps to provide an intent-like interaction that was, you know, partly inspired by and partly inspired some of the intent stuff, because we've been working on that since 2019, and it gives you this, here's a give and a want, and our underlying contract infrastructure escrows the assets in order to provide a higher degree of safety and assurance to end users. But that's really a, you know, twofold. One is users want to present simple things that way, and you can present to the user something where they can verify, yeah, that's what I meant. And there's these utility searchers underneath that they're just like in our API. If I can invoke, hey, do this swap on osmosis, I can easily turn that into a, hey, do this swap anywhere. I don't care. I just want, give me some X for Y so I can get on about a use case that the user cares about. So much of the magic in the infrastructure is to make this all upgradable. As soon as you look at an await where I'm doing a, one of the other code examples I've shown occasionally is reach out to Celestia, I've got stake Celestia, undelegate it in order to move it over and liquid stake it on Stride and then take that and make a vault and all that sort of thing. I had another example of that user story that users wanted. That await undelegate takes 21 days. There is no way you ever get a break. You've got to be able to upgrade it. So indeed, that infrastructure is designed so that our chain can be upgraded, the other chain can be upgraded. The smart contract itself that is sitting in that await state can be upgraded to add new functionality or fix things. And much of the design, much of the engineering that we've spent over the course of the, in terms of getting here, is to make all of that sound and coherent in a way that you can see who can upgrade it, you can see who has authority, and you can preserve all of the escrow and safety while upgrading smart contracts underneath. Thank you all so much.